Hello and welcome to the Third Tale podcast. Hello, Guðmar.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm great, and you?
Yes, I'm quite good. We had a nice time today at Hestaland with 1 hour of your training. Was very educational, and now we force you to record this podcast.
No problem. I'm glad to have you here.
So might sound weird, but maybe people that listen to us might not know you, though I will find that very curious. Can you talk a bit about yourself? Present a bit yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Guðmar Pétursson, and I live here in West Iceland, close to Borgarnes, in a place we call Hestaland. It's like a horse operation, horse farm. We do all kinds of, we obviously do training and selling and things like that, a lot of teaching. And then we have a tour operation. We do all kinds of tours here. We do trekking, long tours, week-long tours. We do educational tours. We do all kinds of combination tours like knitting and writing and sagas and writing and photographer and writing and, different kind of combinations. So we have most of the summer booked for week-long tours like that. Then we do here a lot of what we call winter workshops, which are the people you met here in the barn today. They're doing a Monday to Friday kind of workshop in the winter. I do online teaching quite a bit. We have a Patreon page with hundreds of teaching videos and subscription methods or ways, and then just a lot of training and a little bit of competing. I've competed quite a bit through my life, and I'm slowing down with that a little bit now.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of other things happening, business is booming. And
I can see that.
Yeah,
yes.
So to compete at the high level takes a lot of time and effort.
Yes.
So I'm a little bit, I'm still competing and I enjoy it, but I have to pull back a little bit to take care of my business.
Yes.
Which is a luxury problem.
Yes.
I used to live in the US for a long time. I lived in Kentucky in the US for, 10, 12 years or so.
Right.
My wife is American.
Okay.
So I'm actually half American myself, or, I have a dual citizenship. So I lived there for a long time. That was a great experience, and I miss those times, but glad to be back. And we have a great place here. So yeah, I think if there's anything else you want to know about me, I guess you just ask.
I'm just curious to know, are you coming from a horse family?
Yeah, I can say I come from a horse family. I started riding when I was 6 years old.
Oh.
However, my parents are not professional riders. No. They were just like pleasure riders. My father was kind of involved with the politics, so to speak. He was like, judging and things like that. But professionally, I was the only one in the family that took it that far. But I'm raised with horses, and we had a little mini farm with a house and a barn and a few hectares. And so I just walked to the barn every day, and I started riding when I was 6, I think 5 or 6.
Yes.
And I've been riding ever since. That's many years ago.
Yes. Usually when the people are not coming from Iceland, we ask why Icelandic horses.
Yeah.
But I guess it's a void question for you.
It is, in that sense, of course. There's only Icelandic horses in Iceland, but I did live in Kentucky for a long time, and I did try a lot of other breeds and study a lot of other breeds, and I think that's one of them. I think that always kind of stands with me, and I think that developed me a lot as a horse person. That I got the insight into a lot of other horse breeds and horse worlds. Yeah. And tried different breeds, and for the longest time I was determined to buy a Frisian horse. Okay. It never happened, but it was very close to happen. Okay. I had somebody wanted to buy it with me, and I was going to train it. I'm kind of glad it didn't happen, but it was a cool idea at that time. Yes. And I trained some thoroughbreds, and I trained some Arabians, and I trained different kind of horses and other gaited breeds, of course, on my clinics. So I got to know a lot of other breeds. So I guess I had the opportunity of switching if I wanted to at some point. Yes. But I didn't. And I'm also glad I didn't do that. But there's a lot of great horses in the world, of course. Obviously. We like to believe the Icelandic horse is the greatest of them all. But that's everybody's opinion. And but don't say that, it's a podcast about Iceland. Yeah, horses. Exactly. No, and that's my belief. I have gotten to know great individuals in other breeds, and I was glad to do that. And I think it developed me a lot as a trainer and or a horse person. Yeah, I was about to ask you if it helped. I think I sometimes say the more I got to know all the breeds, the more proud I was of our Icelandic horse. But it doesn't mean that, I didn't meet great individuals. No. But as a breed, I think the Icelandic horse is very unique, very special.
Yes.
But you can find great individuals in every breed. But as a whole, I think we have a very special horse.
Yes.
And but I think it developed me a lot. And I used to say that I think, coming back to Iceland, that every Icelandic horse person needs to go outside of Iceland for at least a few months and just see the world. Because we're raised on a small island, it's the size of the one state that I lived in, Kentucky. Yes. It's about the size of Iceland. And, there live as many people in Iceland as in a medium-sized company work in the US. so like we come from a small island in the middle of nowhere, so to speak, and which is great. It's a great island, but like it's only one breed here, and I think it's really good for Icelandic horse people from Iceland to get to see other horse worlds.
Yeah, this morning during our training, you referred at least 1 or 2 times to Western horses. And,
I saw all this, and I worked, around those people, and I saw a lot, and I took clinics, and I really opened up my mind to a lot of other techniques or a lot of other approaches. And I think it's something we can pick up from everybody. I mean, like there's the Western horsemanship is a great horsemanship. It's different goals than what we are after.
True.
But there's a lot of techniques that can apply. Obviously, natural horsemanship is becoming the base of most things. Then, of course, we have, dressage and baroque dressage. We were influenced from there. So I think it depends on what you're doing, kind of, but there's little things you can pick out in many places. And even if nothing else, often just the mindset and the attitude towards something, because everything starts in our heads, like the attitude you have towards horses and the approach you have towards horses. Just that alone you can learn that from anything, from any good horse person.
When is the last time you bought a horse?
The last time I bought a horse.
For yourself or the company? I'm not picky about it.
Last week, probably.
All right. Okay. Congratulations. Does it have a purpose? Is it for breeding or competing? Maybe less competing?
So I've been buying quite a few horses lately just for the operation, like for the short rides and the longer rides.
All right.
So I bought the last one of those a week or 2 ago. And then I'm in the process now of buying a horse that is going to be for training and resale potentially. So it's always something. So we have to, our business is growing quite a bit, so we need more and more horses for the rides and both the short rides and the long rides.
Yes.
And then we're also doing quite a bit of selling. So we have clients that come here to look for horses.
Yeah.
And we're always making sure we have some good horses kind of on hand. Usually those are horses that we buy and then work with a little bit and get to know them well and use them for lessons and clinics and whatever. And then so by the time we sell them, we know them very well and we can present them. Sometimes the horses that we are working on improving and making some, young promising horses and then keep working with them. So so there's always something happening.
Yes. I usually ask, what is the day of a Guðmar look like, or a week of Guðmar look like?
Maybe we can say that one of the good things about this business is not many days are the same.
Yes, we've been told that before.
That's what makes it interesting. But there is some routines at some point. So, for example, now when we have a winter workshop going, which I have 3 ladies here from the US doing a winter workshop, and that's Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
So then we meet on Monday morning and we go through things. I give them 2 project horses. And I give them a piece of paper to evaluate those horses. So this morning, on Monday morning, they rode those horses by themselves. I didn't tell them anything about them. And then they have to fill out the form to evaluate them that we've been through. And then in the afternoon, I give them lessons and we kind of make a plan on how we're going to go forward. And then the rest of the week is going to be me teaching them lessons every morning and them working independently in the afternoon. That's how every day is going to go.
Oh, okay.
So I teach them in the morning. In the afternoon, they work by themselves. And while they're working, I'm typically doing training myself. And then on Friday afternoon, we will reevaluate the progress and see how it went.
Wow, okay.
And then obviously we have lunch there at 12:30 or so, 12:30. And So that's like a winter workshop week is kind of like this.
Mm-hmm.
There might be some afternoons that I'm not here. I have to go do something. But other than that, when there's not winter workshop, I try to ride some horses most days. I'm not always successful at that because it's a quite big farm. So we are doing some maintenance somewhere. We have a guest house, so we have to go there. And I spent a few days the other day painting some rooms. And,
nice.
And then there's like, we have a competition regularly, so we have to go practice for the competition. There's people like you that come and take lessons. So then there's some schedule like that. So it's very different, but I would say like I am, to try to sum it up, I try to be responsible for training of like 4 or 5 horses myself.
Okay.
4 to 6 maybe, that are like on my list, so to speak. And then I'm overseeing the training of the others a little bit.
Right.
So some days I spend helping the other trainers a little bit, or they ask me questions or what I'm supposed to do with this horse, and I'm looking at them and working with them. So I try to kind of keep enough training going for this 4 to 6 horses of myself. There are the horses I'm competing on, or upcoming competition horses, something like that. And then aside from that, if it's not winter workshop, it can be anything from, maintaining something or improving something, or going to look at horses to buy, or showing horses to sell. It's quite a bit of square meters here, So there's always something to be done.
Yeah.
Not that I do it all myself, but at least I have to make sure it's done.
Yes. Traveling? You do a lot of traveling?
I travel enough.
You schedule them?
Yes, I do a few clinics a year abroad, mostly in the US. And we go to some demos and shows and things like that. But I don't travel nearly as I used to.
Okay. There was a period where you travel way more?
Yes, there was a period where I did a lot of teaching around the world, all over the US, Canada, and Europe. I might go 2, 3, 4 times a year or something for some clinics. And that kind of like, it was a great experience, and I'm glad I did it, and I met a lot of good friends and clients and everything, and I enjoyed it, but at the same time it gets old to live in a suitcase.
Yes.
And
I can relate,
especially when you have a farm now
to handle.
And then few kids. I got 4 kids, 2 older but 2 younger, and a wife, of course. So it's like it's always that time away from the family. So I had already started to think about developing some online teaching system.
Yes, we're going to talk about it. It's very interesting. But you mentioned multiple times the US. Mm-hmm. You keep a close connection with the US. Yes. Kentucky, you mentioned you lived in Kentucky. Is that
Kentucky,
yeah. And do you keep close contact with Kentucky? I probably pronounced it badly. Sorry. But
Kentucky. I have friends there that I work with. Yeah. And also I work quite closely with the people that took over my business in Kentucky.
Right.
And they're doing a great job there and staying very busy. I work very closely with a friend in Colorado.
Yes.
Who was just here.
Yes.
Left yesterday.
That we met. Yeah.
I work very closely with a friend in Boston area, and then also one in Vermont area. Yeah. So I have like this key places I go to now, usually every year, sometimes twice a year. And I work with closely. I go there to teach and help them with something sometimes, and some shows and stuff. And then they often bring groups here for tracking and teaching and things like that. So it's kind of like goes in both ways. Yes. So nowadays it's like it's this kind of this circle, we can call it. Like I help them and service them the best I can and do clinics and whatever, and they come here and bring people here for training and lessons and tracks. Yeah. And then a lot of those people are also, I connect with them regularly through the online teaching. So I do go there quite a bit. And when I do clinics, it's usually there. Occasionally in Canada, but mostly in the US.
Yes. So you have close ties with the US anyway.
Yes.
If that's okay, we could talk about training horses. Mm-hmm. We had an hour with you, and I'm not going to talk about our personal life, but I think you were one of the first person I watch online with your first video on YouTube, and we're going to talk about your presence online. But, when we talk about training, we talk about system, usually, methodology. I don't know what is we use the term system.
Yeah.
Can you describe a bit your approach? How do you approach a new rider with a new horse?
I think if we talk about training methodology or like ideas, I think it's safe to say, I said this many years ago, and I think it still applies, that in the basic horsemanship, and I think this doesn't only apply to me, but at least to me and maybe many other of my colleagues too. In the basic horsemanship, I think I'm very influenced by natural horsemanship, obviously, and when it comes to influencing the mind of the horse, it's very much natural horsemanship approach and Western quite a bit. I feel like they are extremely good at that stuff.
Yeah.
Starting young horses and influencing their minds, behavioral training.
Okay.
It comes very much from there, and I think we're all kind of influenced from there, or I am at least very influenced from there when it comes to starting young horses and just kind of, like I said, training the mind of the horse, influencing the mind.
Yes.
When you're teaching certain behavior or not,
yes. or removing
or correcting something.
Correcting behaviors. Yes.
When it comes to the actual art of riding, if I say so, when it's more like the physical training of the horse, the shape and the form and the cues and the aids, and like the art of riding, which is usually the long-term,
yes,
work. Influencing the mind, you can do that very quickly.
All right.
You can teach a horse certain behavior or untrain certain behavior relatively quickly if you know what you're doing. But when it comes to the art of riding and influencing, or we can say influencing the body of the horse, that's like a long-term, forever work.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
Building muscles, lengthening muscles and ligaments and whatever. And then I think we're very influenced by, dressage, and maybe primarily like Baroque dressage kind of,
yes.
like there's dressage base in riding a lot.
Yeah.
You probably already noticed that in your lessons all over.
Yeah.
Different angles of dressage too, right? So we have like the German competition dressage, which we've kind of moved away from a little bit, a bit maybe, and now we're more into like the classical or the Baroque kind of approach.
Yes.
So I would say that's like sums up maybe just like the very, very simplified terms where the influence comes from. But then maybe I should add to that though, that like not to be forgotten is that the traditional, we can say, Icelandic horsemanship.
Yes. There's
a lot of things we still use from the old masters in Iceland, from that, has obviously changed a lot, but there's certain things that still stay.
They're still valid.
Yes, very valid.
Not the seat, it seems.
Maybe not the seat. Maybe just a tiny part of the seat.
Yes.
Because we're still a little bit influenced from there, and so we haven't totally adapted in most cases like the dressage seat.
No.
So it may be more in that direction, but we still are influenced by the supple hips and the kind of deeper seat a little bit in some ways.
Yes.
And there's a lot of room for different techniques. So like we talk about certain things, but there's a window of correct, right? So it's not just one thing that's correct when it comes to, for example, seat. So I would say like, we have classical, we have natural horsemanship in Western, we have dressage and Baroque dressage, and then we have Icelandic old school approaches that definitely still apply in many ways. And maybe, we have special Icelandic things like flying pace and riding fast and, things like that.
Yeah.
That we, have a harder time getting information from somewhere else.
Yes,
so
obviously.
The Icelandic riding is quite unique in that case.
Yes.
Like we added a step to the training pyramids called riding
for
fast.
Sure, yes.
But aside from that, I think when it comes to teaching and training, I feel like there's maybe a few things. Like I feel like when you're teaching, I think that the general approach is you're training the horse through the student. can.
Yes.
So you're looking at this horse and you think, okay, what does this horse need to get better? What are you going to work with?
Right.
And then you try to coach the student into doing
Yes.
that. And
Yes.
that's very often how it works, especially when you're teaching people, obviously, on their own horses.
Yes.
I try to have like a system of what we do, which I was trying to introduce a little bit to you as far as we could go this morning, as far as how we use our seats and how we communicate with the horse. I think there is very often the limiting factor in a community, a limiting factor when you're trying to get something done with the horse is the communication. So how can you explain to the horse what you want him to do?
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's much more rare that we are asking the horse to do something that he finds extremely difficult.
Yes, okay, yes.
I mean, I think that's, yes, of course, when you reach the top riders, which are very few, relatively speaking, they are trying to they're starting to work with things that are like physically demanding of the horse.
Absolutely.
But for the general horse person, I think most of the problems are the communication. It's the communication system.
Yes.
That we are not able to explain to the horse, hey, can you take this foot and move it across this foot, and then you move sideways, then you do this, then you're great.
And he cannot neither tell us very clearly, like, I cannot do this because of this or that. Or
exactly. This. So, how many times haven't you been trying to do something with the horse? Okay, let's back up. And the horse is like, it doesn't back up. And you're thinking, oh my God, it's so hard for the horse to back up. He must be sore in the hind end, or he's like, he's not able to back up. He's super stiff. And then you put this horse out in the field and he's running backwards.
Yes, physically he can.
Twice as fast as you've ever seen. Or you're teaching the horse to step sideways and he just can't do it. This must be so hard. And then you let him outside and he's running sideways, playing with his friends. So I think very often it's very rare, if you think about proportion wise, for the general horse person in this world. I think most of the time, the limiting factor is how can I explain to the horse what I want him to do?
Not the physical ability of the horse.
Not the physical ability of the horse, exactly. And if they would only understand English and we could tell them what to do with their feet, that would be so much easier.
Yes.
But we have to create that language.
Yes.
That's the thing. And most of the work when it comes to teaching and training, teaching riders and training horses, is to make the language.
Right.
Is to create the system, how you can influence the horse's body. How can you convince or influence the horse so he understands that when you do this, he's supposed to pick this leg up and put it there, and this leg up and put it there, or whatever. Those little details. I think that's the first and foremost what we're doing. Once we have a system like that in place, there's so much less limit to what we can do.
Yes, we could replace the term system by language, I guess. That would be the same. I'm curious, because obviously this morning we had a training with you. It's like, do you have a go-to exercise that you like to give to a student that you meet?
A go-to exercise?
Things that you like to give to coach maybe the horse or the rider or...
Maybe not a go-to exercise, but I think there are certain key things that are very important. I very believe in we need to be able to get on our horse, release the reins, and walk on a loose rein.
Yes,
I think that's something that is a fundamental thing that some people forget.
Yes,
and especially or not less the more advanced people, they reach certain level and they feel like the basic things they did never need to be done again.
Yeah, right.
That's not how it works. So training horses, like maybe a one go-to, we can call that a takeaway. Training horses like walking up steps, right? So you take step number 1 is something simple and that prepares for the next step, and that prepares for the next step. And that's how you slowly move your way up the steps to more advanced things. The most important thing maybe not to forget is that the first steps, you can never cut them away and throw them away.
No,
you always need them.
Fall.
Yeah,
yes.
you fall. So you always need those first steps to get up to the higher steps. So the most important thing is maybe one of the important things is like you are somewhere working on step 10 or 20 to say something and you have some issue there. A tendency and maybe even not less like my tendency and like professional trainers' tendency is like you're teaching something that you have been able, or you're working on something that you have been able to do with the horse, but it's not working. And we keep fighting in step number 20, and we keep arguing in step number 20 instead of going to 19, 18, 17, right. 16 and back up and say, hey, okay, we need to work on steps before.
Yes.
And explain something and work on something, and then maybe either same lesson or next one or something, we go back to step number 20 and see if we can figure that out.
Yes.
But that's sometimes something that we forget, that we have to go up and down.
The basis exercises have a meaning, I guess. It's the basis, but it should never be like lost or take it as granted, maybe.
Exactly. And it's like another common mistake we do is like you've been working with your horse, let's say for a few days, and you read something great, let's say on Friday, and you reach this like really nice collected slow tempo told or whatever you've been working on. And then you take, maybe your horse gets a couple of days off. And even if he doesn't get a couple of days off, you take him out again the next day, and you have a tendency to go to where you ended the last lesson.
Right.
And you want to get that back.
Yes. Right away.
Yes. Or very soon anyway.
It never happened to me.
Exactly. Instead of like, I said to people, okay, you start the lesson today exactly where you started yesterday, not where you ended yesterday.
And it can feel like a step back for sure. Or as okay.
And I think like for the most part, you start the lesson almost where you started it yesterday, but the difference is, or even last week, but the difference is maybe that you just go through those steps a little bit faster.
Right.
So instead of taking you, 40 minutes to get to your
goal,
peak performance, your goal,
yes.
It starts to take you 20 minutes and then less and less, and that's how you can build on top of it.
Right.
But you can never just, of course, you start skipping some of the basic stuff. You don't go always to every single step, but like you have to always be aware of it.
Yes.
I mean, like that's I think that's like important. And if you think about like the training pyramid, the training scale, pyramid, you think about look at it as a pyramid, and you look at the step 1 is in the first and the bottom, and the step 2 is, and if you think about the size of each square, each box as representing time, that's the time you spend on each thing. The top is a very small little triangle. That's not much time.
No.
There's not a lot of time you can squeeze into that little triangle on top. But there's a lot of time that goes into the first step because it's a very big box, right? Yes. So if you think about each box representing time, you spend typically less time on each step the higher you go.
Yes.
And this applies to everybody.
Yeah. Even to you.
Even to me. This applies to everybody. Advanced rider competing doesn't just spend time on collection and riding fast, which are the two highest steps, right?
Yes.
You spend a lot of time on walk and keeping calm and staying supple and staying even on left and right and, rhythmic, all those things that you spend a lot of time on, and then you just touch on the peak a little bit.
Right.
And this is maybe one of the most important things to remember is that you're always going down the steps again. You're always reinforcing the basics, always making sure everything is in place there, and then you kind of start to sneak up to the highest. To the
highest part of the pyramid.
Yeah.
It leads me to a small question. Mm-hmm. Is Guðmar Pétursson take lesson?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I try to take lessons every chance I get.
All right.
And first of all, we can say that like like, for example, when I lived in the US and when I go there, I would go to big shows and expos and that I would try to seek out clinicians that I wanted to see.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And watch their demos and even go, some of them I went to visit and worked with a little bit and whatever. But here now in Iceland, I every opportunity I can, I take lessons with Eyjólfur Rísólfsson.
Okay, yes.
This is an Icelandic guy living in Denmark.
Yes.
Jolly. He was my main teacher at Hólar when I was there.
Oh, right.
When I went through Hólar. And I was kind of stayed connected to him since, and he used to come to my place in Kentucky to give clinics. And,
wow.
And now I am part of a group here in Iceland that he comes 2, 3, 4 times a year.
When he comes, he do the round.
I sign up right away if I can. So that happens regularly, a few times a year.
Yeah.
I've also taken some lessons with Julio Borba, the Portuguese guy that's in at Gegnisholar with Ulil and Bergur. Those are both, great horsemen and great fun to learn from them. And if you just come away with one thing, you're thrilled, but you usually come away with many things. And just the focus you get there, and just like to be reminded of things and learn new things and be corrected. And it's extremely important for me, and probably some of the most fun thing I ever do is to take lesson from.
Yes, and I guess for you it's being a rider, being a horseman in that moment. You don't have to care about Hestaland or
exactly.
It's a moment for you and your horses.
Yeah, you turn your phone off the only time of the year, and and you go in there and you get this hyper focus, and you get somebody that has great knowledge to look at what you're doing and give you input and help you, and that's very valuable. And I think it's extremely important, actually. How can I say this? It's like a certain place you reach at some point, I think, in your horsemanship development. Is like you come to a conclusion at some point, or you to terms with the fact that you will never know it all, right? So I competed a lot as a kid, and I did quite well and a young man. And then I went to Hólar, decided to go to Hólar, luckily. And when you come to Hólar, everybody's just even. It doesn't matter how many trophies you have, you just go to school, right?
Yes.
And I thought I was pretty damn good when I went to Hólar, in my own opinion.
Good.
And then you're thinking, like, oh my God, I got to learn all this. I have a lot to learn. It's almost like a wave that hits you, like how much you don't know.
Yes.
How much you need to learn.
Yeah.
And then you go through that a little bit, and you're a little bit lost for a moment, and this wave is kind of beating on you a little bit, and like you're competing to learn all these things, or like you're racing to learn all these things. And then you somehow come to terms with the fact that, like, you will never know it all.
Yes. Yeah.
That we are all in the same boat.
Yeah.
And then you start realizing, oh yeah, okay, this is just part of it. You always have to be trying to figure out the next thing.
Yes.
And then that becomes the addictive part.
to always
be reaching and learning, and that becomes like the nurturing part.
Yes.
Like me going to a lesson is very important for me to stay a good teacher, because I get influenced myself. I get ideas. I get new ways of explaining things. I learn something new that I can share. So training horses and taking lessons is like my fuel.
Right.
It
fuels your way of teaching and, I guess, knowing more and more.
I would not like to just teach.
No.
Training, so the horses give me like some inspiration.
Yes.
And then me taking lessons gives me inspiration. That then gives me drive to go teach to others.
Right.
That's kind of how it works. Yeah. And then there's like this good old theory that you come to terms with it, like, it's an it's a forever process. It's a forever journey. You might as well enjoy the journey, because it's never going to end.
Yes. When I started riding, and I started riding like 8 years ago, so it's very late. My first teacher and still our trainer was saying, like, after 5 months, 6 months, you will feel you can go out with your horse in the forest. You will feel like you are the king of the woods. He's always saying that. Yeah. But trust me, the moment you will start feeling that you are not the king of the woods, it means that you went further and further and further. Yeah. And the more you know, the less you know.
Exactly. The more you learn what you don't know.
Yes.
And we sometimes say it takes about 200 years to become a good rider.
Yes.
So we all have a long way to go anyway. So
yes.
Might as well relax and enjoy the journey.
We talk a lot about riding. Do you do a lot of groundwork?
Groundwork is just a way to explain in more details to the horse in some ways.
All right.
So, or at least one of the reasons for groundwork is that you have an opportunity here to explain some movement to the horse without needing to carry you.
Yes.
You see what's going on with the horse's feet. It's easier for the rider often to visualize, okay, this leg should go there or whatever. And it's just like breaking it down even more. So we're always trying to break things down into as small steps as we can in teaching and training. The smaller step we can break it down into, the less likely we have arguments and confusion and conflicts.
Okay.
So we're always trying to like make each step easy and easily understandable. And I think groundwork is a very strong part of that. We do a lot with our young horses. So that's part of the reason it's very important to teach the horse a new move. That just makes it easier to continue the education once you're in the saddle. So he knows the move, he's done the move, and he can connect the cues on the ground to the cues in the saddle, things like that. But it's also important just for general ground behavior, general ground management, that the horse is easily maneuverable on the ground. Yes. So a certain amount of groundwork, I think, is extremely needed and important. Having said that, I'm not a huge launching guy, for example. We do launching, and I've done the whole thing myself, and I've tried everything.
Yes,
I think that's out there, but we do it here. Definitely not against it by any means, but I don't think it's going to solve all our world's problems either. I think you have to do it in the saddle, and then, Yes, but it can be a good start to something.
Yeah,
we don't use much extra reins in any shape or form anymore. We use trot poles quite a bit.
Yeah.
Launching halter with the attachment to the nose. Yeah. We play a lot with them on the ground. I do different things and exercises, but I sometimes think, having said that putting horse into a round pin and make him run for 20 minutes is overrated. Like, there has to be something more to it than that.
Okay.
I mean, all like right. you're communicating with the horse. You're moving him sideways. You're moving him backwards. You're moving forward. You're asking him to do something. You're having go over some poles or some obstacles or something, like there's some communication and training going on. Then I think it's good.
Right.
But just to make them run, I don't think that's groundwork. I think that's just exercise.
That's just exercise. Yeah. And again, to come back to what we were talking about, system and the language that you build with your horse, for sure, if you just tell him, go and run, there's little communication going there.
I mean, I guess it's better than just standing in the stall, but there's no training involved with that.
No.
Sometimes I feel like, groundwork in its good shape when you're working with the horse and communicating and teaching and doing movements and etc. Then yes, I think that's very good, and it's a good step to prepare for the art of riding.
Yes,
doesn't replace it. It's just a step in the right direction. It's just a step.
Yes, it's a tool in the toolbox, I guess. Maybe if we can shift gear on your presence online, can you tell me how they started and why going online?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it started, I think, a long time ago. Like I don't know, probably in the end of my, or towards the end of my, we can say, traveling career.
Okay.
when I really felt like I started living in a suitcase. As much as I liked my job, teaching and meeting people, I always liked that part of it. But the time away from, I had I have two older kids.
Yes.
And then I have a younger one that's like 6 now and 3, and she was getting born, and you have an infant and you're flying out every weekend, and it's just like it kind of gets a little bit difficult sometimes. And then we started build up the farm, and I'm away a lot, so less gets done, and things like that. So I had started to think that like I wanted to do online transfers to something to online.
Right.
Try to do some online education, and I knew I would always travel some, and I would like to do that, and I like to meet people and do clinics, but maybe a little bit less, find some kind of balance on it.
Yes.
But I had a hard time finding the time to get it going, because it's like another business.
It's a whole new set of skills that you need to learn.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
One time I remember I was so tired of not finding the peace and time to start to write some teaching materials.
Yeah.
That I talked to my wife, Christina, and I actually ended up turning my phone off and checking into a hotel down the road here.
To isolate yourself.
Like 10 minutes away from here.
Right, okay.
And I just locked myself in a hotel room and turned my phone off and started like writing up some stuff.
Wow,
so I gotta get this going. And at home, there's always something, happening, and the horse is loose or whatever, you gotta do something. And so that was my first attempt. And I wrote down a lot of stuff, and I was going to do some courses and this, and I wrote down a bunch of things. And I just was all night, just like typing something on the computer. And then, obviously that just, nothing came out of that right away anyway. But I had formed a lot of kind of ideas and opinions how we can do this.
Okay.
And then COVID hits.
Yes.
and everything shuts down.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is my cue.
Right.
That's going to happen now.
Okay.
And so I locked myself in the office at home this time because there was nobody coming anyway. So I didn't have to check into a hotel. And I have a very good friend, German friend in Germany. Her name is Anja. And she had come here for a winter. No, we didn't even start the winter workshop. But anyway, she'd come here for some teaching and cleaning. And she had been encouraging me to do this too. She was a very big pusher, pushing me in that direction, telling me to do this. And she had ideas how to do it. And I had a guy that worked with me a lot with websites and stuff like that. And basically in 2 weeks, the three of us got this going. So at that time, what we did is I just started like private coaching on the website. It was like different options to, once a month, twice a month, whatever. It is like you send me video, I look at the video, we meet online and then make a training program, just like one-on-one, which was like a good start to get comfortable with this.
Yes.
But at the same time, I started a Facebook page.
Yes.
At that time, we called it Ask Guðmar. And we had a poll and we started like asking questions, and I started making teaching videos every week and a lecture and things like that. And to make a long story short, this developed into then Facebook kind of was great in the beginning because everybody was there.
Yes. And
it was easy to do. But when it becomes like 150, 200 videos, it becomes hard to, I think now we have over 300.
All right.
And it becomes a little bit hard to organize and search, and it's not designed for that.
No, not at all.
And then again, obviously not everybody's on Facebook. So at some point, I can't remember 3 years ago or whatever, 3-4 years ago or something. After we'd done this for 2 years or so, maybe, we started looking into what's next, and what happened was, which I think was a great move, we moved to Patreon.
Yes.
And Patreon is designed for this.
Yes.
Video, categorized community, and you can organize everything, and you have search functions, and you can organize everything into different, chapters or whatever you call it, like search functions. So that was like designed for this, and it was great. So we transferred everything over to Patreon, and now we have a Patreon page, and we changed the system slightly. So the way it works is, we put up a poll every month.
Okay.
And the poll has ideas for topics.
Okay.
It can be anything, but all the topics are ideas from the subscribers.
Right.
So I usually don't.
Yeah,
I usually don't come up with the topics. They can be anything, and they come up with questions. I choose 3 questions at a time and put them in the poll. People vote the question or the topic that gets the highest votes. I make the first week I make a teaching video where I ride the horse, and I basically tackle that question. Right. Like the last one was rein contact for a very forward going horse. So we had been talking about rein contact. Somebody has a horse that's very, very forward, and he has a hard time getting some contact with the horse. He's probably leaning on too much or whatever is happening. So that was the last question, rein contact for a very forward horse.
It's quite a precise question, though.
Yeah.
It's not, I need to learn how to walk my horse.
No, but we've covered a lot of those things. We've done the training pyramid.
After 300 videos.
Yeah, we've done the training pyramids. We've done the top line. We've done lateral work. We've done all kinds of things. Endless amount. We've done why do horses stumble, how to pony a horse. People come with all. So it started more like this typical things: shoulder in, haunches in.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And we've done a lot of videos on that. But now it's getting fun because people are starting to get quite specific about it.
Yes,
and
I can see that.
And it gets like quite, and then now obviously I have to take a twist on it. And the way I approach it is that first week I do a teaching, a demo video on how I would tackle. So it's basically my idea how I would tackle something like this.
All right.
It's not edited. It's just the camera is turned on.
Okay.
I do the video. Yeah. The timer is turned off. The video is uploaded.
Okay.
There's no editing, cutting. There's no redoing. There's nothing. I tried to. So that's my answer to that question. It's a little bit like if you were at a clinic.
Yeah.
I was teaching a clinic, and I was doing a demo or something, and you would say to me, Guðmar, can you explain this to me?
Right.
How do you back
this
up?
Is in that
whatever.
setup. Yeah, that's
and
the
then
setup.
I would just have to think for 5 minutes, and then this is how I would approach this, tackle this issue. I'm not saying it's the only way to do it.
No.
I'm not saying it's how everybody else does it. I'm not saying I will think the same next month. I might have a different approach then.
Yes.
It's just right now, this is how I would tackle this. So this is an idea how we can do it. And then sometimes similar topics come up again, and we tackle them differently then. Then in week number 2, I do a part 2 of the video. That's either me, where I keep going.
Yeah, okay.
Or in most cases, I teach somebody else.
So
I take some of the interns in the barn usually, or the people working here, and I give them a lesson on that topic.
Okay.
So just so people can see somebody else dealing with that same stuff. Week number 3, I do a live Q&A. So people ask questions.
On the topic?
On the topic.
On the topic.
Sometimes you get off topic a little bit, but obviously, primarily on the topic. Mm-hmm. People ask questions in comments underneath the videos. Patreon kind of works in that sense like Facebook. It's like it's posts.
Yes.
And you can comment underneath each post. Yep. And they can ask a question that I then answer in the live Q&A. I sum it up in the live Q&A. I watch the videos myself.
Yes.
I add something that I forgot, or I want to correct, or I want to highlight or something. Then I answer all the questions that people have asked in those part 1 and part 2 videos. And then obviously answer questions, the people that are live there.
Yeah.
And then this live Q&A lives on Patreon.
Okay.
So even if you don't make it to it, you could still post the question in comments and get an answer to it.
Yes.
And listen to it later.
Right. So that's 3 videos already.
3 videos already. And then the 4th week is just a new poll.
Yes. Okay, cool.
For the next month.
Wow.
And that's how it goes every month.
And you do that since 2-3 years, 3-4 years?
Yeah, when was COVID? Years ago,
2020,
yeah. So this is why we have, 300 and some videos on
Wow.
That. So it's getting quite extensive collection. And a lot of people just use it for the collection. They just go in there, search for something, rain contact. It has a search function. So you can search for Pacey Toad.
Yeah.
And I think there's to explain it, a little bit further, for me, I think everybody, when you do things like this, you have to find your style, right? Yes. And for me, if I was, it took me a while to start this. And I think part of the reason is that you're always worried about, you're making a video, I could have done it better. Let's do it again.
Yes.
Let's edit it. Let's cut it. Let's change it. Is it good or not? Whatever. So I just started this. I said, I had to stop this. You have to just make it real.
Yes.
So it's uncut. It's real. And this is just how I felt that day. I would tackle this issue, and that's what I'm going to share.
Yeah.
And that's the best I can do right now.
Did you ever thought about revisiting some of the videos and say, all right, hey guys, this month I will redo that.
Yep.
Because I thought about it, I improved, I had.
And that sometimes comes up indirectly because sometimes people ask questions who are very similar.
Yes. Yeah,
and then I use the opportunity and do that. But I think there's 2 things for me that make it maybe, I think what makes it for what it is and maybe makes it unique. Number 1, all the topic ideas come from the subscribers, the students.
Yes.
So these are all questions that somebody asked that I'm answering.
Yes, you're not steering it in that sense. I'm not
steering it in sense I want to teach this. I am totally exposed. They just throw a question at me and I just, okay, I got to do something.
Yeah.
And in some cases I had to get other specialists. I've talked to veterinarians.
Oh, wow.
Talked to breeding specialists and I get to share stuff. I often get to share other articles from the breeding leader of Iceland. Let me share articles on something. I spoke to Hólar College, Guðrún Stefansdóttir, about sharing the system she created to evaluate the weight of the horse.
Okay.
So I have a lot of information in that too that I'm sharing from other specialists.
Okay.
Saddle fitting, I got Mummi, my friend at Ástund, who's a saddle fitter.
All right.
Making saddles his whole life, or designing saddles.
Yeah.
He came here and we did a series of 3 or 4 videos on saddles.
Wow. Okay.
And my sister Linda is a fitness trainer and a personal trainer,
right?
Specializing in fitness for riders. and she's in university now studying this and just about to graduate. So they came up with a question about rider's fitness. So I got her to do one series with me.
Okay.
So I pull in other specialists too, because I some things I just don't know enough about.
Yes.
So I think one thing is like makes it unique is the fact that it's all guided by the students. The other thing I try to be very good about or careful about is I bring out the real problems or real issues.
Right.
So if the question is how to deal with a pacey horse, it's very tempting to take my best tolt horse and say, this is how we should tolt. This is how I did it.
Right.
But I wouldn't do that.
No.
I take the paciest horse I can find in the barn and I work with it in real time.
Okay.
And I'd show you what I would do with this horse.
Is it because you feel that it's more authentic? This is what you want to...
I think this is how I like to see.
Yes.
If I see, we call it honest demos.
Right, okay.
And I think it's, in general, I think trainers are too shy to do it. And I understand why.
Yes.
But because it's relatively easy or easier for you to go online or find a book about how to do something.
Yes.
But it's much harder for you to get some information on, you did that, but it didn't work.
Right. Yes.
Who's going to help you now?
Yes.
I mean,
It's not the book.
It's not the book. So you can ride shoulder in and you put your left leg on the girth and right leg behind the girth and you do this with the range and you sit like this, but it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm not getting it.
Yes.
It's not working because horses are live animals.
It's not a motorbike.
They're not a keyboard.
Yes.
And then, then the problems come, And so like, for example, a good example is like, pacey horse. It's relatively easy to find information on how tolt should be and the beats and the order of the feet and what needs to be in place for tolt. But to see somebody actually struggling with it live on camera is harder to find.
Do you have experience videos where you really struggle?
Yeah, absolutely. And that also makes some videos better than others. Some videos are, those are usually the videos that people like the most, but some videos I just don't think went very well.
Okay.
But people love to see regular trainers also have issues.
Yes, also struggling.
Yes. So, I have ideas of what I'm doing and I explain it, but it doesn't always go great. It is what it is.
It's very interesting. And the part that you just mentioned about also riding, about, in the book, you mentioned it to us this morning about yes, when you do a circle, the inside leg is important, the outside rein, etc. And what you said about but sometimes the horse is overbent, so you need to use your horsemanship a bit. You need to not read the book or not do what the book.
Use your technique to your advantage. I think that's I just wanted to do it this way. This was how I would like to learn, and this is how I think what's missing, or was at least.
Yes.
And I think that it's the honest way of doing it. And I was one question was vigsl. I don't know if you heard about vigsl. Vigsl is like an Icelandic word. It's like it's when horses tolt and then they skip into trot kind of.
Okay.
Like this quick movement. And they skip. It's called vigsl in Icelandic. I think there's no translation to it. Really. Skipping is the best translation maybe. So I went to the horse rental and found a 24-year-old horse that's walked for the last few years, and his tolt was kind of getting stiff, and he was overweight and everything, and just not in shape because he hadn't been working for a long time. Seriously, just been leading kids around, kind of.
Yeah. And
he was doing this, and I just showed people this is what it is, and then I tried to help him a little bit, gave them ideas how to solve it, and So I often put myself in situations that are
I can see that,
less than pleasant, but I think that's how I think people learn.
And you mentioned it. This is how you would have liked to learn anyway. This is what you would like to see.
Yes, you want to see the real thing. You want to see the real. You don't want to see how it's supposed to be when everything's said and done.
Yeah.
You want to see how did he get there.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the journey we talked about. Yes.
The journey. It's the same thing. It's a journey. And we shouldn't be shy of sharing our journey, not just the end result of it.
How many people there is at the moment on your community?
We have about 200 now, I think.
Okay.
On the Patreon. And it's constantly growing.
Yes,
slowly
it's good.
But steady.
Hopefully it grow even more now.
Yeah, exactly. Slowly but steady, and there's some free trials there and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's just encourage people to check it out. It's pretty
How
simple.
do we find it?
Best place to find it is probably just go to Guðmar.com.
Yes.
It's easy to remember.
Yes.
My website.
Easy enough.
And there you can click on something that says online on Patreon
Yes,
or
we will
something
put
like
a link
that.
anyway. But yes.
Or just go to Patreon and put in my name. Guðmar
Yes.
Pétursson.
Okay.
Patreon.com
Yes.
and put Guðmar Pétursson and then it comes up. Not many with my name, so that's good. And then there's different ways to subscribe and also some free options to taste it.
Yes.
And we also just started this, which are free for now, this farm friend videos.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
They're beautifully done, though.
Yeah.
It's not raw. It's
Right,
it's
that's
really well
different.
crafted.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just the idea there, is just to share with people a little bit the life on the farm.
Right.
Maybe a little bit educational sometimes too.
Yeah.
But also just share with people, like we're going to shows and practices and we were, checking on the mares and giving people a tour of the farm and just kind of fun and informational in that sense. So we're just kind of experimenting with that a little bit and people seem to like it so far.
Yes. Yeah.
Just show a little bit the different side to it,
Yeah, the video that I saw, it's first of all, it's beautifully crafted, and I think it's a different angle on what you can see online, which I really appreciate.
A little bit like behind the scenes, kind
Yes.
of, like this daily life on the farm, and nothing unique in sense of that. It's just stuff that we do.
I don't know many. I would say use the term big names, but I don't see too many of that online.
No. I don't think so. I think it's not much at all, at least not like this.
No.
I think the library is getting quite extensive.
Also, yes.
So you can kind of find something to help you. And I think if people get into that kind of approach, you could maybe argue in some people that it should be more produced or something that, but I feel like that's not my style. I just want to make it real.
No.
This is the way
I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
Guðmar, thank you so much for taking the time in your busy schedule. Thank you everyone for listening. We will come back soon with a new episode. In the meantime, don't hesitate to share this episode and go and check Guðmar online to make sure that you see what he has to offer. Before leaving you, would like to mention that you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook and follow our adventure there. Thank you again, Guðmar, for talking to us today.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Good to have you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.